it needs to be said. I can relate to that young lady, and I felt for her.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like to be hated. I know what it's like to be a black woman and hated because of my color.
Yeah.
In Caitlin's game that night against the Phoenix Mercury player Alyssa Thomas lodged her fist into Caitlin's neck in a play where no foul was called during the game.
Her body.
What would happen if one of the greatest basketball players ever saw the WNBA's most talented young athlete being singled out through questionable methods? You're going to find out because Cheryl Miller's shocking comments about Alyssa Thomas's behavior against Caitlin Clark have utterly upended the basketball world. But first, let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen a professional athlete subjected to the kind of treatment that Caitlin Clark has experienced during her career? What Cheryl Miller witnessed during the Phoenix Mercury game fundamentally altered her view of the WNBA. Alyssa Thomas is reportedly devastated by this aspect of Cheryl Miller's perspective. Caitlin Clark is exactly where Cheryl Miller once was. Cheryl Miller was the top player in a league full of incredible athletes from 1982 to 1986, and opponents often tried to physically intimidate her because they couldn't match her extraordinary basketball IQ. But Cheryl Miller emphasized this crucial point. This is where the discussion surrounding Alyssa Thomas becomes interesting. Cheryl Miller understands the difference between what she experienced and what she has seen in competitive basketball at the championship level. In her words, it was the most cowardly act she had seen on a basketball court in decades. You heard that correctly. Yes.
There seems to be something involving this girl, and there's an elevated level of physicality that obviously compromised her availability last season where she missed a few games. There is a palpable resentment towards this girl where you have people who are resenting of her star power and her cachet. And as a result, if they have an opportunity to go at her, they're going to take it. Now, Caitlin Clark is no innocent bystander.
When Cheryl Miller watched the footage of Alyssa Thomas shoving Caitlin Clark from behind while Clark was already dealing with being poked in the eye, she reacted immediately and strongly. As one of the fiercest competitors in basketball history, Miller spent her legendary career battling elite opponents and understands exactly what true competitive intensity looks like. Yet even she believed Thomas's actions crossed the line of sportsmanship and competitive integrity. Miller argued that championship-level defense is not the same as taking cheap shots at a player who is vulnerable and not looking. Reflecting on an era widely considered one of the most physical periods in women's basketball, Miller said competitors faced each other directly rather than acting like predators when an opponent's back was turned. That, she explained, was what made Thomas's actions so disturbing. Miller was reportedly even more frustrated by Thomas's response afterward. Rather than admitting she may have gone too far or expressing regret, Thomas suggested that fans and the media were unfairly criticizing her, saying, "Damned if I do, damned if I don't." Miller believes true champions take responsibility for their actions, especially when another player could be put at risk. According to her, seeing Thomas play the victim instead of accepting criticism reminded her of athletes who could not compete at the highest level through skill alone and instead relied on questionable tactics to influence games. Miller's comments also highlighted what she sees in Clark, the same rare qualities that define all-time great players, including elite basketball IQ, clutch shooting, and the ability to elevate everyone around them. What concerns Miller most is that Clark often has to worry about cheap shots and physical targeting instead of focusing entirely on her development and performance. In Miller's view, Thomas's approach reflects a broader problem in which some players choose to attack Clark physically rather than challenge themselves to match her talent through preparation and hard work. She called it one of the worst examples of basketball competition she has seen and noted that Clark, at just 22 years old, is already carrying the pressure of being the face of women's basketball while dealing with challenges most athletes never face. Miller's most controversial point was that if the WNBA allows players to target superstars without meaningful consequences, it risks sending the message that mediocre players can stay relevant through unethical tactics instead of improving their actual basketball abilities. She claims that this creates a dangerous precedent that could discourage the very players who are raising the standard of the league. Cheryl Miller also argued that the league's failure to properly punish these actions sends the wrong message to young players watching at home. In her view, the WNBA should be teaching lessons about skill, dedication, and sportsmanship rather than showing athletes how to target opponents through questionable tactics. Perhaps the most important part of Miller's message was her prediction about Caitlin Clark's future despite all these challenges. She said Clark is built by adversity and that every cheap shot, questionable play, and attempt to intimidate her only strengthens her determination to prove herself through talent and hard work alone. Miller compared Clark's situation to her own rookie season, when opponents constantly tested her physically, but noted that Clark is dealing with that pressure while also carrying the unprecedented attention that comes with being one of the most marketable players in WNBA history. That is why Miller's support of Clark matters so much. She believes she is defending more than just a talented athlete. She is defending the integrity of basketball itself. From Miller's perspective, Caitlin Clark represents everything that makes the sport special: talent, vision, competitiveness, and class. At the same time, she believes players who rely on questionable tactics represent a threat to what the game should be. Miller made it clear that the WNBA is at a crossroads. The league can either continue allowing players to use those methods to stay relevant, or it can protect and promote its biggest stars, giving players like Clark the opportunity to reach their full potential while helping elevate the league as a whole. According to Miller, the future of the WNBA may depend on which path it chooses. That leaves the question everyone is asking. Will the league follow Cheryl Miller's advice and do more to protect Caitlin Clark? Or will they continue to allow athletes like Alyssa Thomas to damage the league's reputation through questionable actions? Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Cheryl Miller's harsh criticism of Alyssa Thomas's behavior? Do you think she is being too critical, or do you believe her concerns are completely justified? More importantly, do you think the WNBA will eventually take steps to protect its biggest star? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. I read every single one of them. If you want to see more analysis like this that cuts through the noise and explains what is really happening in basketball, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Cheryl Miller's controversial comments could have a major impact on how Caitlin Clark's situation is viewed throughout the WNBA. The basketball world is watching this story closely. As it continues to develop, one thing becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. The discussion is no longer about a single game, a single hard foul, or one controversial moment. It is about the future of women's basketball, the standards the league wants to uphold, and how its biggest stars are treated when they are under the spotlight. Before entering the WNBA, Caitlin Clark faced expectations that very few athletes have ever experienced. Millions of fans watch every game she plays. Every move she makes is analyzed from every angle. Every success is celebrated, and every setback becomes a major headline. That is the reality of being one of the most recognizable figures in modern basketball. Meanwhile, veterans across the league continue competing at the highest level, bringing experience, pride, and determination to every game. The WNBA wants to ensure that intense competition never crosses the line into unnecessary or dangerous play. Fans want intensity. They want rivalries. They want authentic basketball. But they also want fairness, consistency, and respect. Cheryl Miller's comments have sparked such a strong reaction because she understands what it means to compete under pressure. During her legendary career, she faced some of the toughest defenders and opponents women's basketball has ever seen. Yet her message was not simply about toughness. It was about protecting the integrity of the game and making sure basketball skill, not controversy, remains the main focus. Whether you completely agree with her perspective or believe the situation has been exaggerated, there is no denying that Cheryl Miller's comments have fueled an important debate. Fans, analysts, former players, and media personalities continue to discuss what should happen when the league's biggest stars become the focus of physical play. Should officials be stricter? Should the league hand out harsher penalties? Or is this simply part of professional basketball? Everyone seems to have a different answer. One thing that cannot be questioned is Caitlin Clark's response. She has continued to focus on basketball, refusing to let controversy, physical defense, or criticism define her career. She continues to show up, compete, and prove why so many people believe she represents the future of the sport. Her resilience is one of the biggest reasons her fans continue to support her. The WNBA is receiving more attention than ever before. Television ratings are climbing, arenas are packed, social media discussions grow every day, and new fans are discovering women's basketball for the first time. Situations like this affect more than just one player or one team. They influence how the entire league is viewed around the world. As the season continues, every game becomes more significant. Every Caitlin Clark appearance will be closely monitored. Every controversial play will be dissected. Every officiating decision will be debated. And every game will add another chapter to one of the most talked about seasons in WNBA history. Now, the most important question belongs to you. Do you believe Cheryl Miller's comments accurately reflect the current state of the league? Do you think the WNBA is doing enough to protect its players while still allowing aggressive, competitive basketball? And what long-term impact do you think this situation will have on Caitlin Clark, Alyssa Thomas, and the league itself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I genuinely want to know what basketball fans around the world think. Your perspective could be featured in a future video, and thoughtful discussion is what makes this community special. If you enjoyed this conversation and want more in-depth basketball analysis, exclusive updates, and the biggest stories involving the WNBA, NBA legends, and Caitlin Clark, be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and never miss another upload. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. And remember that basketball history is being written every night. This is where you will hear about the next chapter, which could be even bigger than this one. To make sure you do not miss anything, share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, and enable all notifications. We'll see you in the next one after you click the video on the screen.